Twilight Princess, the final installment in the child timeline of The Legend of Zelda, where we follow the story of Link, also known as this dude, on his journey to save Hyrule from the crisis that is Twilight. When I started my journey playing the Zelda game starting in Ocarina of Time, I did not really know what to expect. I knew there was so much love for these games and there are constant debates as to which Zelda game is the best, with everyone having different stances on which one is their favorite or, I guess, their top 5. I'm not here for that debate. I'm here to share with you my experience with the series and want to see for myself what really made these games special. I already played through Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and have voiced my opinions on those games, and there's a playlist of those videos that you can check out here on this channel. Also, spoilers ahead. If you want to experience this game yourself, click away. If you don't care about such things, then we can get into it. I'm putting it out there. So far in the child timeline between Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess is my personal favorite, and I will explain why later. For now, like any other story, we should really start from every game has a beginning. In Ocarina of Time, we start in Kokiri Forest in a little house, being woken up by Navi, our companion, for that journey, to meet the Great Deku Tree for a grand quest to procure Kokiri's emerald from inside him and meet Princess Zelda. In Majora's Mask, we start on horseback, already on a journey to find Navi, who left us at the end of Ocarina, and on the way get highway robberyed by a Skull Kid and 2 fairies. In Twilight Princess, however, we start off just sitting in a quiet village next to someone, our mentor, Russell, in Ordon Village. From that alone, there is a drastic difference for the start of each journey between these games. In Ocarina of Time, we start off established as kind of an outsider, as everyone in Kokiri Village may be friendly to us, but as M.A.T states, we were different from the people in Kokiri, as we were the only one who didn't have a fairy companion until that very day. Not to mention, we were able to grow up later on while everyone in the village stayed looking like kids. In Majora's Mask, we were not just halted on our journey to find our friend Navi, but we even get robbed by the Skull Kid and his fairy companions and then cursed, transforming into a Deku and go on a journey to save ourselves from this curse, only to then save the town and the people of Termina from a crashing moon. Throughout those 2 games, the motivation of our character did not feel personal to me. It felt more like a duty as the chosen one. There's nothing wrong with it at all though. It's a good hook and is constantly used in multiple different stories for a reason. We only find that personal reason to continue the journey and save the world from the friends we made along the way. The phrase that is used a lot as a meme, that is exactly what it is for Link here. We meet such a diverse cast of characters with their own stories that we get to be a part of, whether it be the sages from Ocarina of Time or the people of Termina in Majora's Mask. The formula there changed in Twilight Princess. Indeed, we are still using the chosen one trope due to Link being the one who carries the Triforce of Courage. That is set in stone. But the difference here is, we immediately have a reason, the people of Ordon Village. In the intro of the game, we go through this long tutorial where we help around in the village, talk to our neighbors, we do some ranch work, hang out with the kids, show them cool moves using a wooden sword and slingshot, and it really shows that we are these kids' role models, and it's quite endearing seeing them excited about these things. Except for this one. I do not think this guy is a baby at all. We also meet the caretaker of our horse and our best friend practically, Ilia, who from the beginning is likable, due to her being able to tend to Epona, a horse that never listens to anyone else, and yet somehow she's able to lead Epona quite easily. This is a peaceful place. One of the criticisms of Twilight Princess is that they have a really long tutorial, but to me, that isn't really the case. To me, this is more like world building. Through these tutorials and chores, not only do we learn the mechanics of this game, it kind of also grounds ourselves and puts ourselves immersed into the world, where we are not only just playing a hero of the story, we're playing a villager, we're playing as part of the community. Unfortunately, the peace in the village couldn't last long. Fate decided otherwise. Tragedy struck when those creatures attacked the village. They kidnapped the kids and brought them into the Twilight. Our mentor Russell is injured during the attack, so he can't go on the journey, and the elder of the village wanted to go in his stead, but it is too dangerous for him to venture into the Twilight as he might become cursed and turned into a mindless spirit. It is only because Link has the Triforce of Courage that he turns into a wolf and keeps his consciousness intact, and therefore fit for the journey to save the kids of Wardon Village and put the village people at ease. It's very simple, but a compelling motivation for a character to actually go on a hero's journey, not to save the world per se, but first, really to save the people of his village that he cares about. In the first place, the motivation was already personal. It gives not just Link, but us the players something to care about. Our hero needs to remember if you saw my Final Fantasy VII video, which, thank you by the way, that video blew up beyond what I imagined and gave me a lot of motivation to make videos like these. Anyways, I emphasized in that video about how much I loved the characters in that game. It is because of that connection that we have to the characters that we wanted to keep going, to know more about them and eventually save the world alongside them. Twilight Princess has a very well-made cast of characters that we meet throughout the game. Remember the kidnapped kids I mentioned? There's one specifically I want to talk about, and that is Colin. He experiences such a great character arc within the story. Colin, the timid kid from the village, he doesn't like violence, doesn't like swords, and is constantly teased by Mallow and Tallow because of that trait. He is actually the son of our mentor Russell, who is the warrior of the village, so perhaps there is a good amount of pressure there, since his father is the paragon of bravery in the village, while Colin is kind of the opposite of that. He is also one of the first ones to be kidnapped during the attack, and later on in our journeys, we find the kids again in Kakariko Village, where they are hunkering down in one of the buildings from the evil creatures patrolling outside. Everyone is afraid of what's going to happen to them, but Colin, the timid kid, is the first person to reassure everyone that everything is going to be okay because we are coming. After gathering all the pieces of light to give back to the Guardian and finally turn back to our normal self, the village was attacked by the same creatures that attacked our village back in the beginning of the game. Colin had a decision to make, either run to safety or save one of his friends. The timid kid goes to help anyway, because it's the right thing to do. Even after the attack and after we save him from the monsters, instead of focusing on himself, focusing on his injuries, instead he calls out to Link. He calls out to us, telling us to go help the Gorons. How selfless can you be that after everything that's been going on, after all the terrifying things that have been happening to you, you still think about the other people around you instead of yourself? Like, Colin is genuinely one of the best characters, if not the best character in this game, and I will die on that hill. Another character I want to highlight is Telma, and she's the GOAT. She is a bar owner in Castletown, constantly helping us on our journey by using her ultimate power, I know a guy. Seriously, every time we need help on something, Telma knows exactly who to call. From the beginning, she is shown to be dependable as she was the one who found Ilya and has been taking care of her in her bar. She also connects us with the Resistance, a group of vigilantes and adventurers who dedicated themselves to peace in Hyrule. The craziest part for me in this reveal is that one of the members of the Resistance is Russell, our mentor from Ordon Village. Now, I've always known that Russell was gonna be cool. I mean, he was shown to be our mentor who's really dedicated to not only his family, but to the protection of the village, patrolling it at night even at the expense of his own injuries. In my head, Russell feels like a father figure to us as well, since we are shown not to really have any parental units around us, with not really much explanation as to who or where they are. So having Russell right in the opening cutscene really tells us how close Link's bond is with him, and I grew attached to him immediately as well. The fact that he and the other members come to help you storm Hyrule Castle and actually save you using his bird, it's cinema, dude. It's absolute cinema. Then you have Midna with the most insane mystery surrounding her and her motivation. I won't lie, I was heavily suspicious of Midna in the beginning up to when we get to Zelda at the top of the tower, because she doesn't really present herself as a good person. As we go through our mission, helping the Guardians to gather their light, going through dungeons, defeating bosses, Midna's motivation is clear. She wants to get revenge on Zant and take back control of the Twilight by gathering the fused shadows, the item that literally everything is saying not to get because it can corrupt the user if they don't understand its real power. So for our companion to really want it really makes her very suspicious in my eyes, where I was almost convinced that Midna, secretly evil and was going to be the final boss in the end, has the insane twist, but instead we have this.
Who are you, Midal? No! Wait, what? What was that? What was that on her forehead? My Midna, did you forget? That beast is one of the light dwellers who oppressed our people. No matter how much you may desire otherwise, you will never be more than a shadow in their world. You cannot consort with their kind. But if we can make their world ours, Midna, light and darkness will meet at last. Our tribe will take back their realm, and sweet darkness will blot out this harsh light. And that, Midna, is why I need you. Not just for me, but for all of our people. Lend me your power. So be it. I will return you to the light world you covet. No! Wait! No fucking way! Midna? No. But... Oh, we're okay. Oh, we're okay. But we're still wolf form. Midna changed color. This dude, hero chosen by the goddesses. Go to the princess, locked away in the castle. That princess holds the key that can unlock you from your shadow form.
Throughout our journey, Midna was learning from us, was teaching herself that it doesn't have to be all about her. Learning from Link that doing these good things feels really nice. Midna learned to care about us. As mischievous as she was actually a very nice light in the darkness. All her quips, all her jokes and all of that was a nice reprieve from all the darkness and just despair of the whole thing. There are so many good characters in this game that have their personal charm that makes them likable, and that has always been Zelda's strong suit from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. So seeing that being continued here in this game just shows how much they dedicated this game to commemorate and appreciate. Twilight Princess plays quite similarly with Ocarina of Time. The item selection in Ocarina of Time is replaced here but changed to only have 2 slots instead of 4. The controls are practically the same with only the addition of a camera rotation with the right analog. You can't jump manually as you have to move towards a ledge to jump to a different platform. Swimming is practically just like Majora's Mask, chicken mechanics doing chicken mechanic things. Wait, that's not a chicken. The game is practically an upgraded version of Ocarina of Time, and I like that it is. It's nice to have that sense of familiarity, especially in a series like this, where due to its similar game mechanics, it feels like they are connected to one another. You also have these moments where we hear songs we are far too familiar with, starting with Epina's theme to summon our horse, and then the songs we play to summon our skeletal mentor, the hero of time, and go on his training where we learn his movesets. It's such a good homage to what came before, understanding that this all happened because of the legend about the Hero of Time 100 years ago, and us, the player, can feel that connection instantly. However, the similarity is also a source of criticism for a large amount of Zelda fans, of which it's understandable, but hear me out here. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed. That's right, we're talking about Assassin's Creed in a Zelda video, but trust me, I have a point. Throughout the course of the Assassin's Creed franchise, starting with the original Assassin's Creed, they stuck to a formula of gameplay. The parkour, sword combat, dodges, and of course, assassinations. Everyone in this game is human after all, so regardless if they are supposed to be a boss or something, they will always die to one hit of the hidden blade or a simple counter if you're going head to head, although it might differ depending on the opponent. That formula stayed for most of those games, up until Assassin's Creed Origins, where they decided to go on a more RPG route, continuing this trend up until Assassin's Creed Shadows. Because of those changes in game design and game mechanics, it didn't feel like Assassin's Creed anymore. The essence of the game of playing an assassin is gone. Hidden blades didn't insta-kill anymore. Somehow we're going up against gods and mythological beings instead of Templars or corrupted individuals, characters and equipment levels being a thing, and so on and so forth. It feels like there's such a massive disconnect between these games within the series, and it really puts me out of the franchise entirely. And that is why I think I like Twilight Princess so much, because it feels like a direct sequel. Even if it did happen 100 years later after Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but after playing those two games, it feels so rewarding as there are so many different payoffs and references to the original. I personally could not help but be like Leonardo DiCaprio pointing to the TV when I hear a certain song that I remember I used a lot in Ocarina of Time to teleport around. However, being too similar can also be a problem. Like we've pointed out, the controls are practically the same between the two games, but not only is the controls are the same, the whole game is structured just like Ocarina of Time. In Ocarina of Time, you go through the first act by collecting 3 spiritual stones, while in Twilight Princess, you help the 3 guardians get their light back to counter the twilight. Then we get to Act 2, where in Ocarina of Time, you gather all 7 medallions from the 7 sages and use their power to face Ganondorf in Hyrule Castle. While in Twilight Princess, you gather the 4 pieces of the Mirror of Twilight so that you can face Zant in the Palace of Twilight. The story beats here are almost 1-to-1 with the amount of dungeons you have to go through being reduced. I guess here in this case, they just simply used a tried and true formula for the storyline and played it safe. To me, that's not really an issue, but I can understand that this makes the game not feel unique enough to its predecessor. However, I think the game makes up for it with everything it brings to the table, from the characters, the dungeon design, the atmosphere, the start of how the story goes, and of course, let's dive into some lore. I genuinely love the world building of Twilight Princess. There's so much cool lore here, as well as hidden ones that once revealed blew my mind. The establishment of the Light Guardians for each region in Hyrule, the existence of another dimension parallel to ours, the fate of Ganondorf after the events of Ocarina of Time in this timeline, and I thought we can talk about it because I think it's really cool. Let's start with the Light Guardians. These guardians are created and designated by the goddesses to protect the regions of Hyrule that are named after them. Ordona is the guardian of Ordon Province, Farron is the guardian of the Farron Woods, Eldon is the guardian of Eldon Province, consisting of Kakariko Village and Death Mountain, and Lanayru, the guardian of the Lanayru Province, consisting of Lake Hylia, Zora's Domain, and Hyrule Castletown, taking the form of a sea serpent. The design of each of these guardians are just really cool. I mean, Lanayru has got to be my favorite. I mean, come on, just look at that. How is that not awesome? I really like the fact that the spirits also manifest themselves in the form of the animals that inhabit the area to really showcase that this is their domain. I really like them, I don't know if you can tell. And then there's the whole thing with the Dark Interloper Wars, where there were a group of sorcerers who wanted the power of the Triforce. So they rebelled against the goddesses, and their power was then sealed by these spirit guardians and then banished into the Twilight Realm, like some Yu-Gi-Oh shit. And during the whole explanation, you can see our Link actually being tempted by the taste of that power from the fused shadows, and the smile that Link has in this moment is unnerving to say the least. But our guy being the good guy, he's able to break out of that temptation and refocus on what's important, which is a very cool brief exploration of character of what would happen if Link was tempted to join the dark side. And then, just about everything about Ganondorf in this game is fucking cool. Starting from what happened after we warned the royal family about what Ganondorf would do in the future back in Ocarina of Time, and so he was captured and then sealed by the sages of this timeline and sent into the Twilight Realm. Unfortunately, what the sages didn't realize was just how powerful the Triforce of Power really is. One of the sages was actually killed by him, and it's very cool that it is symbolized that sage is now gone. When you look up at the location of the Mirror of Twilight, you can see one of the symbols of the sages is actually cracked, implying that sage is no longer here. In the Twilight Realm, Ganondorf was able to thrive and basically became God, and using the Triforce of Power, he was able to manipulate Zant, whom I think was a servant of the royal family of the Twilight Realm, and using his influence was able to basically get rid of the original royal family and break through the barrier to Hyrule, establishing Ganondorf's return. Even the dungeons in Twilight Princess feels like they contain some mystery that is unknown to us and is just wanting for us to figure out. My personal favorite being the Arbiter Ruins, not because of the mechanics within the dungeon, but mainly what that location represents. It is a location where all of the evils of Hyrule was contained. Even at the start of this dungeon, you're blocked by 4 different Poes, which are basically restless spirits of this world, as you need to hunt them down using your wolf form so that you can grab the flame that unlocks the big door towards the dungeon boss. The whole area just feels uncomfortable, it feels unnerving, it feels unsafe to be in, especially with the skeletons all scattered around the area, signifying that a lot of individuals probably have died here for their crimes and just left to rot with no one to really take care of them. And then you have the most mysterious location of all, the Snow Peak Ruins, a mansion just tucked away within the edge of Hyrule in Snow Peak. We don't really get a sense as to who owned this location. When I was going through this location, I was constantly weirded out by it. Like, why would there a mansion be located basically in the middle of nowhere? And then when the cannons showed up, in my mind I started to think that this was not simply a mansion, but this was very much a fortified position for a possible war that transpired long ago. These little tidbits of information about what happened before, about these locations that will forever contain a mystery within it, makes the world feel lived in, and you can't help but just keep exploring to find out exactly what happened, to look for clues and unravel what came before. And speaking of dungeons, are very much a part of what makes a Zelda game feel like a Zelda game. Many of them are very creative in how they use the tools they have given to us and keep them relevant throughout multiple dungeons. Twilight Princess does not miss with their dungeons. They are very fun to traverse and the puzzles are clever but not too challenging. So I think TP found a good balance between puzzle complexity and enjoyment. And I think that's very much prevalent in the first dungeon, the Forest Temple. This is the best dungeon in the game, Hands down, nothing even comes close to this. What makes this dungeon so good is the synergy between the tools that we have for the dungeon as well as the mechanics and components within the dungeon. You get a good amount of usage of the lantern and slingshot as well as the newly acquired Gale Boomerang. You use the lanterns to burn the spirit webs blocking our path, use the slingshot to take out the skulltulas around the area, and use the Gale Boomerang to spin the turbines that opens gates or adjust the bridges to unlock new paths. Then there are the in-dungeon components. In the early areas of this dungeon, you save some monkeys that were trapped by the monsters within. When you save one of them, they help you traverse by swinging you towards the next platform, and eventually, when you save enough monkeys, they will help you swing through a very large gap that leads to a new area. You also have these bomb bugs where you can blow up obstacles and rocks that are blocking some chests, and you also throw them into the mouth of these plant monsters to blow them up from within. There are so many cool moving components that make the dungeon so interesting and fun to traverse. However, for some reason, the next dungeons, that diversity of different components and tool usage starts to dissipate. And I think the worst culprit of this is the City in the Sky, which I would consider to be the worst dungeon within the game. The only interesting thing about this dungeon is that this is where the Ukus come from, and the fact that there's a whole dragon that is flying around. It's such a cool, atmospheric, cinematic moment, and just looking up above, seeing that dragon flying around is intimidating. But ultimately, this dungeon sucks. The dungeon can be boiled down to 3 things: falling platforms, gliding chickens, and double claw shot. 90% of this dungeon is just using the double claw shot to traverse the whole area, which was cool for a few minutes, but then it became uninteresting very quickly as the dungeon depended on that one tool to literally do anything. It was too much. And then there are the bosses of the dungeons, which are designed really cool, and the build up towards them are also really good. The most memorable one being the one in the Arbiter's grounds, where we fight the head of a fossil thing that was reanimated by Zant using the Death Sword. You also have the Black Dragon from the City in the Sky that is so cool as it looms over you as you traverse through the dungeon. And when you get to these fights, it feels bad. The bosses are easily taken care of after 3 or 4 hits, and then on the second phase, maybe they become cooler, but ultimately it's the same thing over and over again. And in the City in the Sky boss, the main culprit of being the worst boss and dungeon in the game, because for the final boss, for that awesome dragon that they introduced, all you do is grab onto its tail to yank it down while wearing your iron boots to break its armor. You don't do anything on the ground. After doing that 3 times, you enter the second phase, where you just grapple towards its back and stab, where it falls into the ground and it flies back up again. There's no ground phase. You just use the hook and just grab onto them, and it's just repetition. It was disappointing. The previous bosses to this was awesome. Blizzetta, where you have to look upon the reflections of the ice beneath to see where and when she will attack. The Undead Fossil, where you have to dodge obstacles while riding your Beyblade to get close and launch yourself into it. Hell, the Goron fight, where you have to shoot its Cyclops eye and then pull its chain to make him fall and deal damage. All of that are such cool mechanics for dungeon bosses, and for this to be the final dungeon boss of the second act, I was disappointed to say the least. I was expecting a lot more, especially after the Spirit Temple in Ocarina of Time that was so well designed. Thankfully, the final 2 bosses in Zant and Ganondorf are a lot more fun, and their dungeons was pretty cool too. Traversing the Palace of Twilight was short, but it was an enjoyable experience because although it did depend on similar gimmicks, they still kept it short. Zant as a boss was cool, as he imitated all the previous dungeon bosses that we have done so far, and it is a very cool reflection of Zant's character being someone whose power is just to copy everyone else, as he does not really have his own identity or skill, willing to become someone else's puppet if it means to have power. But ultimately, he himself really has nothing to show for. And then you have Ganondorf and Hyrule Castle. And Hyrule Castle was cool. I enjoyed Hyrule Castle. It was a wonderful dungeon as we revisit the usage of all the tools that we have procured, revisiting and fighting the enemies that we fought against throughout the whole game. It did really well in reminding us what we've gone through, what it took to get us this far. Then you have the Ganondorf boss fight, where he first possesses Zelda, then turns into his beast form Ganon that teleports around and ambush you from every possible direction, forcing you to stay on your feet and be observant. And then that fight against Ganondorf in Hyrule Field with Link and Zelda with her light bow on horseback. That was a really cool sequence, and it was really nice to have Zelda be part of the boss fight. And then the final duel between Link and Ganondorf where we just clash swords. Absolute fucking cinema. However, all of those wonderful dungeons, all of those epic boss fights would not have felt the way they did if it weren't for. I think we can all agree that music is one of the most integral components that makes a Legend of Zelda game. Prior to Breath of the Wild, I've never really played a Zelda game, so all of my exposure prior to it was only the soundtracks. All the relaxing Zelda music to chill or work playlists over on YouTube, or just any playlist everyone has compiled over on Spotify. And you bet your ass I abused that shit all of college. Because there's just something special from the music of these games that really captivates us. Twilight Princess has a very wonderful soundtrack. Huge props to Toru Minegishi, Asuka Hayazaki, and the series veteran Koji Kondo for making all of these wonderful pieces of music that we can experience within the game and outside of it. I think my personal favorite out of all of them is the Boss Defeated theme, which does have the components of Midna's theme since she is the one who was with us during that boss fight and teleports us out of the dungeon. The song gives such a satisfactory vibe, since it comes immediately after defeating a dungeon boss. It gives a feeling of being allowed to finally rest for a bit and take in the victory. A moment to look back on the dungeon and the boss and how much fun it was to go through. I can just sit around for hours reading a book, drinking my cup of coffee or tea, and enjoy life for a small bit before moving on to the next hurdle with this song. This song genuinely makes me look forward to finishing a dungeon just so that I can sit around for a minute and just listen to this wonderful piece of music. Another song that I definitely want to highlight is the Courage theme. This is a song that comes out whenever a character within the game shows an act of courage. And this is very prevalent during Colin's scenes back in Kakariko Village, when he sacrificed himself to save Beth, one of his friends from Ordon Village. After we defeat these orc creatures and save Colin, this song plays to signify Colin's genuine bravery and his resolution to actually save Beth from the attack. And this song, when Colin tells us to go help the Gorons instead of focusing on himself, this song just elevates that scene even more, because this song is a hopeful song. This is a song of triumph, that Colin was able to conquer his fear and instead choose to be brave. And it really inspires me. I'm genuinely afraid when I make these videos because I don't exactly know whether or not it's going to flop or if it's actually going to succeed. But taking Colin's example and blasting this song over in my head to hype myself up when I make these videos, to take that step forward regardless whether or not we're scared. I'm really glad that this song has now finally found me, because previous to this, I did not know what this song was. Listening to those playlists, I only understood that this song was just a really neat song from a Zelda game. But now, knowing the context and knowing where the scene is located, not only do I feel like the scene itself is elevated, but this song has so much more meaning for me now. The final song that I want to talk about today is Midna's Lament. This is a wonderful piece of music. This song takes place after the incident where Midna had to sacrifice herself to protect us from Zant. As we are teleported by Lanayru close to Hyrule Castle Town, Midna is on our back, slowly losing her life. Accompanied by this song and a rainy night sky, we have to rush towards Zelda to see if we can find a way to save Midna. And this song is sad. It is very somber, but more importantly to me in my head, when I was listening to this, it felt like a countdown. Every single sequence of the notes feel like a moment has gone by, A moment that we need so that Midna doesn't die. A moment that we need so that our friend doesn't die. And it really doesn't help with the minor melodies of the song that gives the feeling that we are going to lose someone. It doesn't give the sense of like urgency. It doesn't give the sense of dread. Instead, it's like a song of grieving, if anything. And that is very much proven in the next scene where Zelda gave her life so that Midna could live. We did lose someone. We lost Zelda. And a part of me thinks that this song, the reason why it's called Midna's Lament, is because she's lamenting the fact that someone else who's not even from the same realm as her decided to save her life. These are such wonderful pieces of music, and these three are not the only wonderful songs within the game. There are so many others that I feel like playing Twilight Princess just for the sake of listening to these songs are already very much worth it. And just every time I stopped playing the game, I just felt like I wanted to know more, I wanted to play more, I wanted to listen more to the songs that are in this game because they're just that good. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in. I am very sorry for the mic quality. Things happened with the cable, and because I changed it, this is how it sounds now. But I hope you guys didn't mind. I greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in and just listening to me rambling about Twilight Princess. I really enjoyed my time playing this game and hanging out with people on stream. Which, by the way, if you want to check out the next streams, it's going to be Rain World on Thursdays and Fridays, and retro games. Right now, it's going to be Chrono Trigger over on Saturday and on Monday. So if you want to check that out, I will be live here on YouTube and on Twitch, so you can tune in on whichever platform you really prefer. And just to let y'all know, this is not going to be the last Legend of Zelda game that I'm going to be playing on the channel. There's still Wind Waker, there's still Skyward Sword, there's still Legend of Zelda 1 and 2. There's a bunch of games that I really want to try out within this series, and I would really love to have experienced it with y'all on stream. I would also appreciate a like, a comment down below to help with the algorithm gods, and subscribe if you like the content over here. And hopefully I can make more of these in the future if it really does well. That's gonna be it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.